Folks, morning. It is a bright and sunny morning here in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the sun now actually rising. You can hear the dogs and them barking already here now. I wake up early to dodge the noise, but I can't help it. I can't help it. You know what happens in my videos. But by the way, if you see me bobbing and weaving, shaking and wiggling, it's because mosquitoes are biting my legs. I'm doing my best not to get malaria or dengue fever or yellow fever or some madness and COVID come wrong too. I really can't take everything at the same time. So I break out my zapper. It is not a tennis racket. It is a zapper. It is electrified to do war in this room. You understand me? So if you see me as a SWAT at some point, don't think that Trent lost his mind and has officially gone off the rocker. No, folks. I am just trying to stay alive. Anyway, let's get into the meat of this video now. Welcome to this new episode of Trini Trent TV, where we talk about the hits, the songs, the eras, the artists, and of course the albums that we love. Those records that really help to define our lives. And one of those albums is actually a record that I reviewed a few years ago, and I was very, very harsh on this record. But now it has actually become a soundtrack of my day-to-day experiences and relationships. And it has really helped me to look at the world differently. And that is none other than Beyonce's Lemonade. Here now, I was so busy fighting the mosquitoes that I did not even realize that I forgot to give you all the quick overview of what's going to be in this video, my table of contents. Alright? It's only when I sit down to edit the video that I realize that I completely forget the whole thing. So let me give you a quick rundown of what we're about to talk about. I'm going to start off talking about Lemonade by reflecting on my initial thoughts on the album. Then I'm going to go into how my views on the album have changed. Then we're going to talk about how the album was received, especially at the Grammy Awards. Then we're going to transition into having a quick discussion about the legacy that this album has left on pop culture. And then we're going to talk about my favorite tracks, aka awesome songs. Alright? Now I'm going to rub some ointment on my foot, so a little coconut oil or something, because these mosquitoes eating me alive. You understand, people? Now dive into the video and enjoy yourself. Check you next time. Now, when Beyonce first put out Lemonade back in 2016, oh, go on, boy. Old brains. It have cobweb in my brain. I'm going to pull it out. Back in 2016, I rejected it. I saw it as just another contrived pop record by an artist who was trying to ride the conversation of social change that had really come to the forefront of the American conversation back then, where you're talking about Black Lives Matter and understanding the position of African American people in America and their need to basically shake up, break, and dismantle the system that had kept them oppressed. And I saw Beyonce as just simply trying to ride that wave for her personal gain. And that's because around that time, and it really started before, from about 2013 leading up to 2016, I had become increasingly cynical. My view of pop music and the music industry had become very, very cynical. And that's because I was pursuing a career in journalism at the time, and I really started to look behind the smoke and the mirrors. I saw behind the curtain of us. You understand? I woke up in Emerald City like a true Trinidadian, and when I macko the people business behind the curtain, as in I mind the business, I went and peeped and I saw what the music industry was. It was basically orchestrated as a money-making machine. And I could not take any message about social change and social justice coming from a pop artist seriously. And I had a particular issue with Formation. You see, because Formation was the song that really led off that era, I really had an issue. That really set the trend and the train of thought for how I received the entire album. Because of the way I was turned off by Formation, I just couldn't receive the album that came after. And I really could not internalize the message of empowerment that was underneath it. As a matter of fact, when I saw the video, it just irritated me even more because I didn't even notice the way that she was reappropriating and flipping the imagery of blackness and how she was really putting black people in a position of prominence and majesty. I just saw it as, oh, here she is I was focusing and narrowing in on everything that I wanted to see as a problem. So here she is on this cop car. She's in this water. She's using black pain, using black suffering, and boasting about her money on top of it all. And I really couldn't get into the message because of that. But now my thoughts on Lemonade have really changed. You see, I had to live with this album. This is one of those albums where you really had to sit with it, Not for a day, not for a week, not for a month. You really have to live with it. Because unless it speaks directly to your own experience and it resonates with you immediately and deeply on such an emotional, spiritual, mental level, it is something that you have to really walk with for a long period of time. And having grown into this record, that's how I view it. I'm now able to appreciate the emotional arc and the story that she was telling and the experience that she was sharing. Because now I'm able to really see how she was creating such a narrative that not just helps her to deal with her issues, but also helped me to deal with many of my own. But when you listen to the songs in order, you realize that she's taking you on an emotional journey. She's taking you on a journey of pain, of infidelity, of rediscovery that a black woman deals with when she's facing infidelity, when she's facing pain and breakthrough at the same time in her life. You see, throughout the songs, we go from moments of intuition, we go to anger, we go to apathy, we go to forgiveness, we go to hope and redemption. She's really taking us on an incredible journey. But when the album came out, I was still in my 20s and my brain wasn't fully developed yet. The cobwebs didn't start to form. And at that point in time, I think I really got stuck in the first half of the record, because I remember when the album came out, I said this flat out. The first half of the album to me was great, and everything from Daddy Issues onward, I just couldn't get into. But when I sat down over the years and then became more informed about what each chapter was trying to show me, and I watched the film and I listened to the conversation, I realized that, I was stuck in that first half, especially when in those emotions of anger, of apathy and emptiness, which I call numbness. Listening to these songs like Don't Hurt Yourself, going right into apathy, which is sorry, and then going into emptiness, or what I call numbness, 6 inch. I was actually stuck in that little bubble, those 3 songs, and I just kept rotating there. Because at that point in my life, I wasn't really ready to be vulnerable, to face the issue, to confront the issues that I was going through in my personal life, in my relationships, in my friendships, and my situationships. Hello. I wasn't ready to face those things. So listening to the album over the years, I have now been able to go beyond that first half and appreciate it for the full arc, the full story that she was telling. But I have to stress the fact that I am not co-opting Beyonce's experience. I'm not appropriating it, because this is very much a black woman's experience with pain, with healing, dealing with infidelity, dealing with generational issues affecting the African American community. I am in no way appropriating her struggle as my own. What I think is so powerful about this record is that it hit me so deeply, just like I did when I spoke about with Ari Lennox's Shea Butter Baby, and how there were so many elements of that record that really struck home for me as far as self-discovery and coming into my own as a young adult. When I listen to Lemonade, I feel the same way as somebody who's dealing with relationships and dealing with healing on such a deep emotional level. It doesn't fully tell my story, but it helps me to navigate those emotions. And even now, I've been able to get a greater appreciation, even of Formation. Because when I listened to Formation and I watched the video, I realized what Beyonce had done was this very intentional move to be boisterous, to be almost obnoxious in the way that she voiced her message. And I think that in many ways, what she did was start a conversation. Even if you don't agree with the monetary aspect of the song and you don't agree with what she's singing about, the fact that she has put blackness so prominently in the face of a lot of people who try not to acknowledge blackness at all. I don't see color, or I'm colorblind. And she's putting blackness in your face. She has done something that is so powerful. You see, Beyonce has been able to, as a pop artist, she has been able to do what so many other niche or marginalized R&B, soul, and some hip-hop artists have not been able to do. They might be able to share their stories, and they have done so effectively for many years, but it has never reached the masses in the way that Beyonce has reached. Because what Beyonce has done through her music is, firstly, she has accepted a great deal of risk. She has accepted the fact that, hey, her sales are going to go down, which they did. She has accepted the fact that, if I step out here now and acknowledge my blackness, stand up as an African-American woman and speak to the issues of African-American people, there are people who are going to be uncomfortable by my message. There are people who are going to reject my message. There are people who are not going to want to listen to this because it makes them uncomfortable. I mean, just the concept and reality of blackness makes people uncomfortable. That's why so many people say they're colorblind and they don't see color. They don't say it to say that they're not racist. They say it to say that they rather not acknowledge race because it means that they now have to have a conversation about that race and their position within the racial structure of power that exists in Western society, specifically in America or any country that has been touched by colonialism. But that's a whole different conversation. Now let's talk about how Lemonade was received by the critics. Well, without question, it will go down as one of the better reviews, if not best reviewed albums of the era. In fact, all of a sudden I get dark. There's a big cloud that gone and sit down and prop up itself and wind up on the sun, and now nobody can see me. But imagine you could hear my voice. Just sit down and imagine my face, my smiling face, and just go along with the voice. My voice done high, you can't miss it. But anyway, Beyonce's Lemonade it received 9 Grammy nominations. That's to tell you how strongly people felt about this record. Between the album, the songs, and the videos, it got 9 Grammy noms. But one little hiccup I would say it faced was the fact that it didn't win Album of the Year. And many people to this day, after 3 years since that Grammy Award ceremony, still feel like it was robbed. But I don't see it as being robbed. I actually see it as such a victory. Because what Beyonce did, she even performed that night. And it was just this moment of black expression. And it was black revelry because she put so many images of blackness on that Grammy stage, stuff that we don't really get to see on the Grammy stage. But what Beyonce did was that through her music, she was able to bring conversations of blackness to the forefront. Not just black pain and dealing with infidelity and dealing with breakdown, but also the majesty of black people. Even Beyonce herself doesn't focus on it as a loss. My mother and them outside the house. She doesn't even focus on it as a loss. As a matter of fact, she was speaking to Elle magazine in 2019 and she put it really beautifully. She said, I began to search for deeper meaning when life began to teach me lessons I didn't know I needed. Success looks different to me now. I learned that all pain and loss is in fact a gift. Being number one was no longer my priority. My true win is creating art and a legacy that will live far beyond me. And just so I get right. You see, I look at Beyonce as having multiple albums that have really created, and this is where we're talking about the legacy of the album now. She has really created such a shift in the way that we look at pop music. You see, when the self-titled album came out in 2013, what that did was change the way that we consume pop music. It changed the way that we promote it. It changed the way that we market it. It changed the way that we release it. And it changed the way that we as consumers buy it and consume it as a product. Because it no longer had singles and lead up and perform on this morning show and perform on that night show. And then you do 50 interviews and then you put out the album. Now you put it straight out to the fans and we get it right away. And I think that was a complete shift in how we deal and treat with pop music. But then with Lemonade, she continued that, but she added to it because what she did was focus on shifting the way that we consume music or as art on a deeper level. How do we take in this product? How do we internalize the message? How do we apply it to our lives? And how do we have a conversation around the music that has been put forth? And what Beyonce has done is really shifted the way that we talk about blackness and black culture in popular culture. I mean, Beyonce is a big mosquito flying around the camera, I would get my zapper, but then I might electrocute the camera. And then all ain't gonna see me on YouTube for the next 2 years because the damn thing expensive. Anyway, try and focus. We have to focus on the fact that Beyonce as a pop artist has really helped to open the door for so many younger artists to express themselves. She's not the first person to do this. I mean, we've had Aretha Franklin, we've had Nina Simone, we've had Roberta Flack in some ways, we've had Mary J. Blige. But what we're seeing with Beyonce is that she's helped to keep the conversation moving forward. And she's helped us to continuously refocus on issues beyond just how many albums or Grammys or number ones your fave has, but focusing on what is the meaning, what is the message behind the music. So now let's talk about awesome songs, my favorite tracks on this album. Now this wasn't easy because each of these songs really talks and speaks to a different emotion. Each of them resonates to what I'm feeling at the time that I'm listening to them. But I will give you all five records that I feel really speak to me in the most deep way, or at least the songs that I go back to the most. Number one, and this is in no particular order, but I think that Pray You Catch Me, the opening song, really sets the tone. I would start off with that. If you've never listened to the album or you just want to know what I like, start with Pray You Catch Me, because that is a song that speaks to intuition. And it really speaks to her really sensing that something is wrong and wanting to really get beyond the veil and understand what is she sensing here. And I think it sets the tone because of that dark, foreboding feel of the song, but yet there's a vulnerability, there's a sadness, there's a shake and almost like a quake in her voice as she sings it. The next song I would highly suggest as one of my awesome songs is Sorry. Sorry is actually my most played song of this album. And that's a song about apathy. That's a song about indifference. It's about saying, I don't care. I ain't sorry. I ain't not sorry about what you're feeling and I'm moving on. And that tends to be, for me, that's my ego song. That's my song that I go to when I'm all caught up in my ego and trying not to show that I'm actually in pain and trying not to show that I'm feeling something that makes me uncomfortable. My next awesome song is Don't Hurt Yourself. This song is raw. It's powerful. It's a rock record. And knowing that rock and roll came from African American people, to hear a black woman singing it in such an unbridled way, in such passion, with such grit, and literally ripping the layers off of the person that she's singing to. She's letting you know, don't hurt yourself. I really think that this is such a powerful song. And what it really speaks to me too is the fact that she's giving you permission as a listener to be angry. Our next awesome song is Daddy Issues. I really like Daddy Issues because of the horns. I really like that, that kind of it has a sway. It has like you want to stomp your feet. You want to do a church clap. You want to feel it. And it really brings in those elements of Texas, of New Orleans, especially with the horns. And I love brass. You all know I love brass. I love a horn. I love a saxophone. I love a trumpet. If there is brass instrumentation, I am there. But I really love the way that she put this together, especially since she's really talking to, at least this is my perception, about the generational curse of infidelity that affects black families. And the next awesome song, if I had to say what would be my favorite right now, as in this moment, what I'm feeling right now, I would say All Night. I love the message of coming back together, of reforming and rebuilding the relationship, of falling back in love with someone. But I also love the way that they put this song together. I think it was written by Our City. And the way they did put this together, it has a very West Indian, Caribbean reggae vibe. And throughout this record, we hear so much of African American culture being brought to the forefront. But what I love is the fact that, Beyonce still managed to bring in the West Indian experience. Because we, as a people, as black people, through Africa, through the diaspora, we're all connected. And bringing that element in was really powerful for me. And I really enjoy it. It's not really a reggae. It's more like, almost like a rock steady. I love the bass line. It kind of gives you like a slight dub. And I really like the way they put it together. Normally at this point, I would read a lyric and I would say, no, this is why I love this song. But instead, I want to leave you all with a quote. I want to share a line that Beyonce said in Elle magazine. I think it was in 2016. Yes, I read my cue card. No judgment. In 2016, when she was talking about her career. And I think this really encapsulates, now that I'm able to reflect on Lemonade and really go deeper, I'm able to really feel what she was saying. And it really is captured in this quote. She says, I hope I can create art that helps people heal. Art that makes people feel proud of their struggle. Everyone experiences pain, but sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to transform. And I think that's what I had to go through as a listener and a consumer of this album and of this art. I wasn't ready to heal, and I wasn't ready to deal with facing the discomfort of confronting an issue and offering forgiveness, accepting to be forgiven, holding myself and whoever I'm dealing with accountable, and learning to really deal with life and the story that I had to walk, the journey that I was on. So hearing her talk about this music and now living it and seeing it play out in my own life, it really goes to show that this album, it had legs much longer than I could have seen way back when. Thank you for watching this episode of Trini Trent TV. I am glowing like the sun in my yellow, the sun hitting my face, and I'm looking like a ghost. But anyway, I'm still here and I'm fading away. I'm going and eat my breakfast fast and hungry. Anyway, make sure you leave a comment on this video. Let me know what are your favorite songs. Has your opinion on this album changed over the years? Join the conversation and let me know. And I will see you next time. Here now, folks. I'm really hungry now. I'm a leg quaking. I don't want to say old age. I will just say experience. You understand? Experience. Anyway, let me go and get information in front of the stove. Later.